With Lucky in tow, Eldon continued his search for chests. He found 2 more bronze ones. He opened the first to find a set of reinforced leather armor and a gleaming iron sword. These, he knew, would be perfect for Dame once she recovered. He carefully stored them away, eager to see her wielding them. The second bronze chest contained a goat certificate and a workshop blueprint. Eldon's eyes widened. A workshop? That could be invaluable. He imagined being able to craft tools, weapons, and other essential items. He carefully pocketed the blueprint, his mind already buzzing with ideas. He also used the goat certificate, and a small goat appeared. Its eyes were a deep blue, almost like it was glowing. As the sun began to set, Eldon returned to the shelter, Lucky trotting happily beside him. He felt a sense of accomplishment. They now had a reliable water source, improved defenses, more food, and the potential for crafting. Dame was recovering, and they even had a small, if somewhat unlikely, guard dog. Things were looking up. The puppy outside barking all night, and the meat-eating plants feasting. Dame is looking a bit better. The night was eventful. Lucky, despite his diminutive size, proved to be a surprisingly effective alarm system. He barked incessantly at every rustle in the leaves, every hoot of an owl, every imagined threat in the darkness. Eldon, initially grateful for the warning system, eventually found himself wishing for a moment of peace. He knew Lucky was just doing his job, but a good night's sleep was becoming a rare luxury. Meanwhile, the meat-eating plants were having a feast. The sounds of their digestive processes, a sort of wet, slurping noise, were unsettling, to say the least. Eldon tried to tune it out, focusing instead on Dame. She was looking much better. The color had returned to her face, and she was moving with more ease. The fruit of the body had clearly worked its magic, though Eldon knew she wasn't fully healed yet. He showed her the reinforced leather armor and the iron sword, and her eyes lit up. She carefully examined them, testing the weight of the sword and the flexibility of the armor. "These are excellent," she said, her voice stronger than it had been the previous day. She looked at Eldon with gratitude. "Thank you," Eldon smiled. "They're for you," he said. "Once you're fully recovered, you'll be unstoppable." Dame nodded. "We will be unstoppable," she corrected. Together. The morning dawned, and Eldon, despite the lack of sleep, felt refreshed. The presence of the water well, the growing berry bushes, and the recovering Dame gave him a sense of optimism. He knew they still faced many dangers, but they were adapting, growing stronger, and learning to survive in this strange, unforgiving world. He looked at Lucky, who was now playfully chasing a butterfly, and chuckled. Even the little bark machine had become a part of their makeshift family. The goat was happily eating grass near the well. Today, Eldon decided, they would focus on 2 things: exploring the area around the other chests and starting to plan the workshop. He was eager to see what other treasures this world held, and the workshop could be the key to their long-term survival. The meat-eating plants were the size of a full-grown man. By morning, Lucky barking had been luring in beast all night long, and the meat-eating plants had been feasting. Eldon also noticed the meat-eating plants moved around the area of the shelter slowly, but they moved. Eldon tethered the goat and left Lucky with Dame. He was scouting when he discovered 1 bronze box, 1 silver box. He came across a large moose, deer-like creature. He had an idea how to catch. He hit it with a thrown rock and ran it, chased him back to the shelter with the meat-eating plants, binding it with their new size and strength. But it was too large, so he quickly struck with his machete, killing it. As it fell, a glowing green stone fell to the ground. Using his machete, Eldon processed just under 1,800 pounds of meat, with scraps going to the puppy and meat-eating plants. The morning revealed the dramatic growth of the meat-eating plants. They were now the size of fully grown men, their forms grotesque and unsettling, yet undeniably effective. Lucky's barking throughout the night had clearly served its purpose, attracting a steady stream of unfortunate creatures that had become meals for the ever-hungry plants. Eldon also noticed that the plants, while rooted in place, were slowly but surely shifting their positions around the shelter, a fact that both intrigued and slightly worried him. Leaving Lucky with Dame and tethering the goat nearby, Eldon set out to scout the surrounding area. He soon discovered a bronze chest and, to his surprise, a silver one. He marked their locations on his mental map, eager to return later. As he continued his exploration, he came across a large, moose-like creature. An idea sparked in his mind. He picked up a rock and hurled it at the creature, hitting it squarely in the flank. The moose deer, startled and enraged, charged. Eldon, feigning panic, ran, leading the creature back towards the shelter. The meat-eating plants, sensing the approaching prey, reacted instantly. Their tendrils lashed out, ensnaring the moose deer with surprising speed and strength. However, the creature was simply too large. Even with their increased size, the plants struggled to fully subdue it. Seeing this, Eldon knew he had to act quickly. He drew his machete and, with a swift, precise strike, severed the creature's head. The moose deer collapsed, its struggles ceasing. As the massive creature fell, a glowing green stone tumbled from its body and landed on the ground. Eldon, intrigued, picked it up. It pulsed with a faint warmth and seemed to hum with an inner energy. He pocketed it, wondering about its purpose. With the moose deer down, Eldon set about processing the carcass. He used his machete, his movements surprisingly efficient, and managed to harvest just under 1,800 pounds of meat. He gave the scraps to Lucky and the meat-eating plants, ensuring they were well fed. The sheer amount of meat was staggering. They would have food for weeks, perhaps even months. A new summons Arish, looking like Dame but less muscle. As Eldon finished processing the moose deer, the familiar chime of the Lord's talent echoed in his mind. The weekly summon was available. He focused his attention on the blue screen, which shimmered into existence before him. With a soft poof, a new follower appeared. This one, like Dame, was a humanoid with dark skin, but her build was noticeably different. While Dame possessed a lean, wiry strength, this new arrival, whom Eldon instinctively named Arish, appeared more slender, almost graceful. She was less muscular than Dame, her movements suggesting agility and finesse rather than brute force. Arish's features were also slightly more delicate, giving her a more feminine appearance. Arish looked around the clearing, her eyes taking in the massive carcass of the moose deer, the now gigantic meat-eating plants, and the small, fluffy dog that was Lucky. She didn't seem surprised or alarmed, simply observant. She then turned her attention to Eldon, her expression neutral. Eldon felt the familiar mental connection form, though it seemed slightly different from his link with Dame. He sensed a keen intelligence in Arish, a quickness of mind that was distinct from Dame's more pragmatic focus. Scout. Assess. Report, Eldon thought, sending the instructions to Arish. Arish nodded, and with a fluid grace that reminded Eldon of a dancer, moved away from the shelter. She explored the surrounding area, her senses clearly attuned to the environment. She returned after a short time, her expression thoughtful. "The forest is changing," she communicated mentally. "The creatures are becoming more aggressive, more numerous. The plants, they are growing rapidly, consuming everything in their path." Eldon frowned. Arish's report confirmed his own observations. The rapid growth of the meat-eating plants and the increased aggression of the wildlife were worrying trends. He needed to understand what was causing these changes and find a way to adapt. He looked at Dame, who was now fully recovered, and examining the iron sword with a gleam in her eye. He looked at Arish, her intelligent eyes scanning the surroundings. He looked at Lucky, who was now gnawing happily on a bone from the moose deer, and at the goat, who was happily munching on some grass. He had a growing team, a burgeoning food supply, and a secure water source. But the challenges were also growing. He knew he needed to be proactive, to anticipate the dangers and prepare for them. The workshop blueprint suddenly seemed more important than ever.